This game is a masterpiece, and I know, really hot take with that one, and definitely not something a million people on the internet have said already. There's so many analysis and lore videos about it that still get tons of attention to this day. People have been doing speedruns and insane challenges forever too. So what is the point of this long video from a channel with 0 subscribers? Well, brother, let me tell you, this video found you for a reason. If the title didn't make it obvious already, my goal is to get you to start a run of Dark Souls 1. Whether it's your first time or it's just been a while, I want to show how fun this game is to actually play yourself. A lot of newer fans prefer to watch videos on it rather than actually sit down and play it themselves, because it seems too old or clunky compared to FromSoft's newer games. And they would rather just go play Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3 if they want to go deeper in the catalog. And while those games are fantastic in their own right, nobody is doing it like Dark Souls 1, I promise. So this video is going to be a supercut of my most recent run, and I want to showcase how each build is a totally different experience every time you play. I want it to serve as a good video to get a newer player started, while also enticing the older players to start up a new character and try a build or a weapon that they haven't used before. I've noticed there's like this toxic vibe around some of the Souls community nowadays, so I think it's important to show that you do not need to be good to enjoy these games. I'm going to make it a point to show any deaths I have during this run, no matter how embarrassing, because dying is an important part of the process. I've been playing these games casually for over 12 years now, and I still make the dumbest mistakes you can imagine. And that's okay, I still have fun. And if you've ever played a Souls games before, you know that the story is almost completely optional. But I think it adds a lot to the experience, especially in this game. So I'm going to briefly go over the state of things in the world. I don't want to get too in detail, mainly because I want this video to be focused on just the fun of casually playing this game. But if you are interested and feel like I don't go into enough detail, there is no shortage of talent in the Souls community. And the lore content creators have much sexier voices than mine. Also, not to be annoying, but if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. The streets are saying it really helps the algorithm, and I'm not convinced that this video will even make it to anybody's homepage, so it would mean a lot. So with that long intro out of the way, let's finally get started. So before any humans even existed, the world was covered in fog and it was ruled by these everlasting dragons. Until all of a sudden, a fire popped up out of nowhere. This wasn't a normal fire though, and it introduced all these concepts into the world that didn't exist before. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. We then see all these things that look like humans come out of the ground, but we find out that they're called hollows. 3 of these hollows would obtain Lord Souls from this fire, giving them extreme power. The most prominent one of these hollows being Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight. He would eventually rise up and be the one to lead these hollows. The next one to claim a Lord Soul was Nito, the first of the dead, who has control over corpses, and he allies himself with Gwyn. The third hollow who obtained these souls was called the Witch of Izalith, and like Nito, also worked with Gwyn. Up until she tried to recreate the first flame and turned herself into the worst boss of the game, but we'll get there. And finally, the last forgotten hollow who claimed a powerful soul. Our man, the furtive pygmy. And it was none other than the Dark Soul. While the other lords used their souls for power, the pygmy fragmented their Dark Soul in order to create descendants and humanity itself. These pygmies were able to utilize the dark to create weapons and armor with the intention of one day ushering in their own age of dark. But that part is top secret. Gwyn was able to unite all of these hollows to start war against the immortal dragons to usher in a new age of fire. But the dragons were immortal, so he had to find a solution. And that solution came in the form of another dragon. You see, Seath was a dragon that was born without scales. And scales are the source of the dragon's immortality, so you can imagine how this made him feel. It's because of this he eventually grew resentful of all the other dragons and decided to betray them by telling Gwyn that lightning was their weakness. Gwyn ended up using this advantage along with his allies to successfully defeat all the dragons and establish himself as ruler of this new age of fire. After his success though, he ended up betraying the humans. He was really afraid of the Dark Soul and the potential threat of the abyss that the humans were utilizing. Which, you know, we'll see later was kind of a valid concern for Gwyn, so pretty based of him. He cursed the humans with the Dark Sign, which allows those branded to be reborn after death, but one day they're fated to lose their minds and go hollow, so, you know, kind of a bummer. Eternal life, but you just end up crazy. As time passed and nature ran its course, the fire started to fade away. Gwyn, growing desperate to prolong his age of fire, decided to link his own body to the first flame in order to prolong its life. And after centuries of the world just barely holding on, our beautiful little chosen undead finally makes his appearance. And a chill knight named Oscar is nice enough to drop us a key to get out of this shithole, so we're gonna go ahead and take that. Outside, we see the most beautiful sight in the whole series. It annoys better than sex. So before we move on, I just want to take a second to go back to the character creator and some of the choices there. For my class, I picked Deprived, which I always do for the culture. And I usually don't really know what I want to do with my build right away, so it's a really good template. And for the starting gift, you can take whatever you want, but the Master Key is infinitely more valuable than anything else here, since it allows you to straight up skip getting some keys. You can also access a lot of late game areas earlier. This may not be the best choice for your first run, but player freedom is the name of these games, so pick whatever the hell you want. The other good choices are the Tiny Beings ring, which gives you a little bit extra health, and the Old Witch's ring lets you talk to an otherwise silent spider woman, so that's pretty cool for lore reasons. I love this character creator. Okay, back to the game. We open these big doors in front of our bonfire, and the first boss drops from the battle bus to take us on. Sadly, we don't have a weapon yet, so we use our legs and run as fast as we can. So we keep moving forward and find our mid-deprived gear along the way. Unfortunately, by the time we meet up with our one friend in the world, he's already dying. With his last breath, though, he gives us a vague hint to ring the bells of awakening, and gives us our fan-favorite Estus flask. Okay, now that we have our club, let's go take on this demon. But before we do, it's a good time to mention that a lot of bosses in this game have weaknesses that you can exploit. And I don't mean like weak to fire or something like that, but rather like a method that can just totally trivialize the fight. The first boss is a really good example of this, because while you could just jump down and fight him normally, watch what happens if we land a jumping attack on this fool. Yep, he didn't like that one. So we finally finish off the Asylum Demon and liberate ourselves. You also actually could have fought him with your fists when he first dropped down, but it takes forever. If you do manage to do it though, you get his hammer, which is a really cool reward for such a feat, so definitely worth considering. Anyway, we walk towards a cliff and get yeeted out of here by a giant crow. And he drops us off in what my ideal concept of heaven looks like. Firelink Shrine. God, I love it here. The music and the atmosphere, and it's one of the few areas that are completely safe unless you start throwing hands with the residents or something. Speaking of residents, this cranky guy gives us a much clearer idea of where we could find the bells that Oscar mentioned before. One's really high up in a church, and one is really far below in Blighttown. So, with our mission given to us, the world is now almost entirely open. I'm not kidding either. One of the best things about this game is how much freedom you have in choosing what you want to do and when you want to do it. This makes doing different characters so much fun because it's a new experience each time you play depending on your build. And speaking of builds, it's a really good idea to figure out what you want to do kind of early, or at least have a general idea. Unlike the modern FromSoft games, there isn't a way to respec your character in this game, so you need to make sure you allocate your points kind of carefully. For my build, I decided to use the Great Scythe, which is definitely one of the strongest dex weapons in the game, and I haven't used it in like 10 years, so I feel like doing a Reaper run. Sadly, we're going to have to sneak into a later game area to pick it up, but it'll be well worth the trouble, trust me. So we start our run to the catacombs behind Firelink before bumping into another super strong weapon in front of a giant grave, the Zweihander. This bad boy is one of the best strength weapons up until the very end of the game, so if you're a strength build, I would look no further. Unfortunately for us though, we still have a ways to go to get our goodies. So we make our way down the stairs and completely forget about the giant pit to the left because I haven't played this game in like 2 years. First death of the run though. So we finally make our dumbass back and we veer to the left in order to reach the bonfire of the area. Now these goons in the robes won't respawn, but they'll keep summoning skeletons back, so I prepare myself for a really intense battle. Got him! His skeleton cronies take us out, but since he doesn't respawn, we can easily just run back and activate the bonfire real quick. We spend a good couple seconds just taking in all the disgusting scenery of the catacombs. And then we push this lever to activate a bridge. And this is where the run really starts. From here, we haul ass forward, dodging skeletons like crazy, until eventually we reach another lever that we can push. And with that, our path to the scythe is all clear, and all we have to do is make this simple jump. Okay, so we make the jump first try, and we finally get our hands on the weapon that we've been working so hard to get. So worth it. We keep poking our nose around up until we bump into a chill skeleton Davy Jones with the weirdest voice ever.
Be gone with you. You spoil my focus.
There's a bonfire down here, but we do not want to rest at the bottom of the catacombs. If our checkpoint is at the bottom of the catacombs, the only way to get out of here is going to be working our way all the way back up, and that's a nightmare, trust me, I've done this before. So we just sacrifice ourselves to the skeleton wheels. And believe it or not, I still think these are the most cancer enemies in the entire series to date. Anyway, we finally make it out of that hellhole and get back to Firelink, thank God. And there was no reason I had to do all of that so early other than I wanted to, which is kind of a running theme throughout your playthrough. There's plenty of other late game areas that you could stop in for some more goodies too, but I'm pretty content with just my scythe. So time to head to everybody's favorite starting area, Undead Burg. This place slaps as a starting area. It's filled with a ton of skeletons that are really good for practicing parrying if you're not good with it, which is a skill that could be really helpful in this game. But for the most part, I'm going to two-hand the scythe because it looks cooler, and it also does more damage. I do want to say though that shields are extremely good in this game, and are much safer than rolling, so two-hand at your own risk. We pay our respects to the local dragon, and then we make our way to the bonfire of the area to rest up. As we're looting Undead Burg, we find a cheeky staircase hidden under some boxes, and an undead merchant on a balcony just sitting there. He sells weapons and some armor if you're naked, like myself. Most notably the orange soapstone for writing messages and the residence key to access one of the 2 sorcery NPCs, so definitely worth grabbing if you're pumping intelligence. Plus, if you want a good dex weapon and you don't want to use the scythe, you can just murder this guy for an Uchi katana if that's more of your jam. After a while of progress, we eventually find a tower and
smell like Betsy here!
We scare out this bug hiding in a barrel for his sweet upgrade materials. And these guys are really well hidden in this game, so definitely keep an eye out. And now we're finally ready to face the boss of Undead Burg. But remember when I mentioned earlier about boss weaknesses in this game? This one is no exception. We take a hard right after the fog door to climb the ladder. We take out these stupid snipers. And from here we're able to jump right on his head. And personally I would prefer this as opposed to fighting in that tight little space. So we summon the big boy himself, run back to our spot and begin jumping. It's business as usual up until we completely blow it on the last jump attack and totally choke. But our spirits are still high, so we head back for a rematch. And what the shit? Completely whopped by skeletons, wow. But you know, these things happen. We finally make it back, but somehow we blow it yet again. At this point, I'm starting to have some bad thoughts, so I clear my head and I run it back. With this new peace of mind, we finally take him out. And holy shit, I don't remember the last time I felt this kind of relief from killing the Taurus demon. It's stupid stuff like this though that makes every playthrough feel unique. And if that satisfaction wasn't enough, we also see our boyfriend, Solaire of Astora, just gazing at the sky up ahead.
Ah, hello.
He's one of the most iconic characters in the series, and for good reason too. He's so cheerful compared to everybody else in this game, and encourages
jolly cooperation
by giving you a soapstone that lets other players summon you. He came all the way to Lordran in order to find his very own sun. And I don't mean sun as in child, but like the giant star in the sky. So yeah, he's the best. We say our goodbyes for now and continue on the bridge up until that cute dragon stops by to spit fire all over us. We managed to shake it off though, and kick down this ladder to make a beautiful shortcut to Undead Burg. This shortcut lets us get to the other side of Undead Burg without having to make that tourist demon run every single time. I'll bring it up as it becomes more relevant, but the way that this map connects to itself is seriously 1 in a million beautiful. I honestly can't think of a video game that has a more well-designed and well-thought-out map than this one. This is also a good time to point out a really good early game soul farm if you ever want some easy souls for like leveling or items or whatever. So starting at the bonfire, you just want to climb up the ladder and poke your head out to the dragon really fast so he breathes his fire again. And every single time he does this, he kills all the skeletons and nets you 555 souls every single time without you needing to even swing your sword. You can also exit the door before the stairs to the bridge and you'll see the dragon's tail dangling down. If you have the patience of a saint, you can actually snipe his tail off with enough arrows to get the best starting weapon in the game, the Drake Sword. Unfortunately though, it has really bad scaling, so it kind of falls off pretty hard at some point. But if you're a collector or you're just struggling a lot early on, it could totally be worth grabbing. But okay, back to business. The game wants you to go under the bridge and around the dragon, but that way has poison rats, and I kind of hate those. So I'm going to go ahead and outsmart the stupid dragon instead. We run back up the stairs where the dragon is, but this time we hide behind the wall and we just wait. It could take a while, but eventually he will jump down, and then you just run like hell to the bonfire behind him.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
In this area, you'll see a broken statue, which you can actually interact with if you have 25 faith. This lets you join the Sunlight Bros. I haven't really mentioned covenants yet, since we didn't get to the one I want to focus on for this build, but a quick summary, each offers their own unique rewards and their benefits. Our faith is trash though, so sadly we have to pass. We open up this gate and this is exactly where we would have come out of if we would have taken the route underneath the bridge. But this way we didn't have to deal with any rats or poison or both. We keep moving forward, but unfortunately your mom is waiting for us in the distance. We quickly book it up the stairs to take out all the skeletons and then deal with her. For some reason, whenever the boars charge at me in Souls games, I kind of like derp out. So I'm gonna go ahead and opt for just throwing fire bombs at him until he dies. As we keep going, we see an enemy knight with his back facing us. Huge mistake. If they're a humanoid enemy, backstabbing is probably the most effective way to kill something in this game. And just past him, we can find our first 100% physical damage resistant shield if you didn't find or buy one yet. We get to the other side of the boar gate and open it up to make yet another shortcut. Then we cross the bridge to the right and make our way down the stairs to see another bonfire. But first, we meet another ray of sunshine in this shitty world. Andre the Blacksmith. He'll sell us a lot of stuff, but more importantly, you can upgrade your weapons with any Titanite you've come across so far. So we get our scythe to +3 and head back to the church. If you remember, it was in a church that one of these bells of awakening that we have to ring are. Inside, we see a fatty waiting for us. So we just bring him outside, bait some attacks, and smack him with the pointy end of the scythe a few times. Fatty was watching over a Firekeeper soul, which we're definitely going to grab. When you give these to another Firekeeper, it upgrades your Estus Flask strength. There's actually a few you could grab right now if you really wanted to, but you have to make some intense runs like I did earlier with the Catacombs, and I don't really think it's that worth it, but if you want to, by all means. Huge shortcut! Having the player connect this world themselves while slowly drawing the image in their heads of this massive map connecting to itself is such genius game design. It's almost like this game is incredible on purpose or something. Anyways, we head down the stairs at Firelink and visit our resident Firekeeper. She doesn't say much because she had her tongue cut off. She also upgrades our flask. The other way that you can upgrade your flasks is if you kindle the bonfires with any extra humanity that you have. You need to also be human already, so you would need 2 total if you're already hollow. Firelink comes kindled already to 10, which is the max right now, which will increase later by killing the hardest boss in the game. Now we could go back to the church and continue on the main path, but going back to that player freedom, I have some unfinished business at Undead Burg that I kind of want to take care of. Before the tower to the Taurus demon, there's a set of stairs leading down that I ignored. This actually leads to a Black Knight, and I really don't like dealing with it before I kill the Taurus demon. These Gwyn D Riders are placed in a lot of locations and have a 20% chance to drop one of their weapons. And all of these weapons are really, really good and are totally worth changing your build if you really want to give them a try. We put him down and unfortunately do not get any weapons, so we just grab the ring that he was guarding. It increases our defense when HP is low. Meh. But we don't have any rings right now, so we'll take what we can get. Now we're finally back to that ominous door from earlier. We picked the master key for moments exactly like this, but if you didn't, you can get the key a little bit up ahead. I'll make sure to mention when we get there. Down the stairs, we have another Souls fan favorite waiting for us. The king of fatties himself, Havel. This dude was a high-ranking fighter in Gwyn's army, and he uses a tooth from one of those ancient dragons as his weapon. Unfortunately, he kind of went crazy, and somebody locked him in this tower. And he's an absolute beast. He attacks slowly, but he can likely one-shot you if you're fighting him as early as I am. So it's a good idea to kind of bait out his attacks and go in for a backstab when you have the chance. "1,000 backstabs later, and he's finally down for the count. Unfortunately, he doesn't drop his armor. We can't find that until later, but he does give us an amazing ring that greatly increases our carry weight. This is super good because medium rolling and especially heavy rolling feel really rough in this game. We keep going and we step in a dark root basin. And yeah, this place is beautiful. We stick to the left and find another Black Knight on the narrow hill by the cliff because this game is really mean sometimes. I bring the knight further up, but I got flashbanged or something and forget I'm by a cliff and just kind of roll off. These things happen. We come back to take our revenge, and then we head down the hill to the glorious Grass Crest Shield. This bad boy is in all the Souls games, and he gives you a boost to stamina regen. Even if you just throw it on your back, it's a great shield to grab early for the extra stamina. We stop at the bonfire inside of the cave, and then we make our way up the hill to enter the Dark Root Garden, home of the Bush people. Eventually, we stumble across a big temple. And oh look, man-made horrors beyond my comprehension. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put that off for a little bit. And when we go through the door, we see our favorite blacksmith in the entire world. Yeah, not to sound like a broken record, but I hope it's really hitting how well thought out the level design of Dark Souls really is. We took an entire detour from Firelink, through Undead Burg, through the basin, through the garden, and connected all the way back to Undead Parish. If fast traveling was allowed right away, we would not be constructing the map in our heads as we play the game like this. It forces us to engage with the world rather than just fast traveling everywhere. But anyways, that's it for our side quests for now, so let's go ring that bell. We fight this douche on the stairs, which, you know, good luck if you have a weapon that swings horizontally in here. So now is a good time to talk about an enemy almost as cancerous as the skeleton wheels, the Dancing Fatty. His role is doing a Fortnite emote which buffs all the enemies around him and sends them in fucking goblin mode. If you want to see what that looks like, check this shit out. Thankfully, he won't respawn, so we focus him down on our next life and manage to take him out before we get melted again. Small progress, though. With him out of the way, we pick off all the undead and make our way down another corridor to the left. Behind a shabby wooden door, we find a knight just kind of sitting in a cell. We let him out, though, since he seems like a stand-up guy. Up the ladders we go, up until we see the fog door. We make our way out onto the roof with these gargoyles, and our decades of Among Us experience tells us one of these is an imposter. There he is. The gargoyle is actually one of a lot of bosses in this game where if you cut off their tail, you actually get a weapon from it. So if you want it, make sure to cut off the tail before killing it for the first time. Unfortunately, another gargoyle steps in to protect his mans, and ooh, he got me. Now's a good time to mention something newer Souls games have really turned away from: boss runs. The run back to the gargoyles is by no means the worst in this game, but we have all of those obnoxious minions that respawn in the crowded hallway. But when you get impatient, you try to run by them, they kind of gang up on you and easily take you out. Exactly like this. And if it's a boss you're struggling with, you're gonna have to do it every single time. It definitely makes you mentally stronger, some of these boss runs, I'll tell you. But we take a deep breath and we slowly take out all the minions instead of rushing, and we make our way back to the fight. This time we respect the gargoyles a little bit more and buff our weapon with some lightning. So we focus down the first gargoyle pretty fast, and now we just have the fire breather. He has a lot more range than you would think, so take it slow and get hits when you can. I remember when I was younger, this was the first boss I really struggled with on my first run, so it's so satisfying to beat him every single time on a subsequent playthrough. Now we head up this ladder and finally ring our first Bell of Awakening. We head back to Andre to level up and get our trusty scythe to a +4. And after that little strength increase, we make our way to the demon in the other room to fight him. This guy also doesn't respawn, and while he doesn't really drop anything that I need for my character, I like to take out these unique enemies just to make the world a better place, you know what I mean? If you can get in that little space between his tail and his back leg, that's kind of the sweet spot to beat the shit out of this guy. Anyways, we head back to that garden and find more of the bush people. These bushes actually drop moss that will cure you of bleed and poison. And trust me, that's definitely going to be really helpful for the area up ahead, so if you feel like prepping, definitely get some of those. After a while, we find this inconspicuous wall and give it a smack to find another bonfire waiting for us. We also see this ominous door, which we can't open yet. If you look through Andre's stock, you probably notice a crest that he's selling for $10,000. Well, that crest opens up this door, and you could do that area now if you wanted to, but I'm gonna come back later since I'm not emotionally mature enough yet, and I don't want to drop 10K on it. Anyway, through the broken path to the left, we make our way through a fog door into a large forest. We find some ruins and head upstairs to find yet another fog door. I mean, this one's pretty beautiful. But as beautiful as the boss may be, doing this as a melee player is kinda miserable. The butterfly will pretty much use ranged magical attacks and eventually land for you to get some hits in. But it can take a really long time. However, if you have ranged attacks and you aren't a Grim Reaper like I am, this fight will be much faster. A lot of these bosses' difficulty is determined by your build. After what feels like 2 hours, we finally managed to take the butterfly out on our first go. This boss is also the first one where you kind of think, like, am I the bad guy? Because this butterfly was kind of just hanging out. But whatever, we go up his tower and we find the key that goes to Havel if you didn't take the master key like I did. We also grab a divine ember, which we can make a holy weapon with if we give to Andre and using a weapon that we already got to +5. So all the way back at the Dragon Bridge, we finally open up this door and head down to the lower section of the burg. They kept this place locked up because it's nothing but assassins and bleed dogs in here. There's also some goobers locked in one of the houses down here that you can unlock if you use the residence key that you get from the undead merchant. He heads back to Firelink and will sell sorcery, so if you're an intelligence build, he's definitely a must. The assassin dog combo is a little too much for us though, so I let myself get overwhelmed. Second time is the charm though, and we make our way to the next fog door. And I'm not exaggerating, this next boss is the only one in the entire game that scares me. He's become a bit of a meme in the community because of how ridiculous this fight is. It can easily end in 5 seconds if you aren't ready to react right away. But we grow a pair and meet the Capra Demon with his 2 bleed dogs. These dogs suck, and I always try to run up by the ledge to try and isolate them from the demon. We actually managed to pick them off, and now that it's just a 1v1, we can kind of relax. It's still a really small arena, but it feels a lot larger without the annoying dogs. Past him, we run into a nice, ugly lady who sells us some moss, but more importantly, purging stones. These will cure the curse status effect, which is absolutely brutal in this game. If you get hit with it, your health is halved until you cure it, so it's kind of a problem that has to be dealt with right away. And getting cursed this early in the game can be brutal, so it's always worth having at least one of these stones on you. Continuing on, we realize we've created yet another shortcut to Firelink. Beautiful. Back near the Capra Demon fight, we use our new key to enter the depths. This area is actually totally optional, and there's another way to enter Blighttown, but I'd like to see everything, and I don't want to miss out on a boss, so we move. This place has more dogs, and some creepy butchers lurking around, and they can definitely take a hit. We find a secret drop-down spot that hopefully leads us to some treasure. Nope, giant rat. We do the world a favor and kill this giant rat, and then we pick up the key that opens up a bonfire. We continue exploring the sewers until we run into another dancing fatty with some rat friends. I immediately have a psychic vision of myself dying and dropping these 11,000 souls, so we homeward bone out of here. After spending our souls and making our way back down, we used the door in the butcher's room to head towards the bonfire. I even knew it would happen, but the blobs dropped down so fast. Thankfully, the bonfire is ours, and I feel better about fighting the dancer now. And unfortunately, it's time for another mini death montage.
Ow! Ow.
Whoa.
Miss.
My hatred for rats in these games only burns deeper as the years go on. We then bump into a guy that's just kinda chilling down here. He'll move to Firelink eventually, and he'll sell unique boss armor, so it's definitely worth checking in on him every now and then. There's also an optional underground area of the depths that you can fall into that's filled with the soul staple basilisks. These guys have the power to curse you, so avoid the breath at all costs. And now we can finally get ready to fight the cutest boss ever. Not as cute when looking at the full package, to be honest. The Gaping Dragon is another one of those bosses where you can get a tail cut weapon, which we actually managed to get. Hell yeah. We aren't going to use it, but it's always fun to just try and cut off their tails. Since the dragon is so massive, it's easy to get hits where it can't really defend itself. So after we take it down, it gives us a key to the happiest place on Earth, Blighttown. The door is by that NPC that was just chilling down here, and the way people talk about Blighttown is the way that people talk about the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time. The difference is the Water Temple isn't really as hard as people make it out to be, while Blighttown does indeed suck ass. I don't think it's the hardest area in the game though. We'll definitely get there later. I say hello to the resident ogres and quickly rest at the bonfire to collect myself. Now, no matter how many times I play this game, I don't think I'll ever remember the path to take here. Our goal is to work our way down to the swamp at the bottom using all these broken wooden beams with all kinds of monsters attacking us. And also little shits that throw toxic knives at you, which is kind of like super poison. So let's quickly go through what this process is like.
Stop hitting me, you're making me hard.
Finally making it to the bottom, we rest at our new bonfire. This huge swamp was a lot harder to navigate in the original game, but thanks to the remaster, you have a much clearer view of everything down here. While exploring, we see like a tree trunk coming out of the ground, so we go up to check out what that's about. We find an item up here, but it turns out there's a secret wall behind the item that leads to a chest with a plank shield. But it turns out there's another hidden wall that leads to a whole ass huge secret area. God, I love this game. But going down there without the ability to warp out is a horrible idea, so we will come a little bit later. I just wanted to point that out. The leeches in the swamp drop green and large titanite shards if you want to grab some of those to level up your weapon. After sweeping the swamp for goodies, we make our way to the boss door.
Yeah, boy.
Quelaag likes to puke fire and swing her sword, so not cornering yourself in here is the key. It gets especially difficult when the arena starts to be completely covered in magma. We killed a spider woman that was pretty much just defending her home, but sorry, we have a bell to ring. This one's for you, Oscar. We also see the gate to Sen's fortress open up, but before that we head downstairs to talk to this abomination. We lie to him really quick and meet Quaylag's sister. You can't communicate with her unless you have the old witch's ring, but she'll still act as a firekeeper and allow you to join the Chaos Servant Covenant. This gives you access to some pyromancies, a shortcut, and a way to save your dear friend Solaire, so definitely well worth considering. You could also kill her if you're feeling evil for a firekeeper soul to boost your flask. But we'll get to that later. We pop into hell real quick and make our way to another boss, but this one is kind of a gimmick boss. He will actually completely kill himself, but you need to lead him back to the entrance without dying. It's also infinitely harder if you screw up the first time, so we cross our fingers and start the run. We pick up some swag for our Reaper look, but he's mad that we took his shit. And tragically, he puts us down on the way back. So now we have to make our way to where the clothes were and circle back to the entrance while he's already cranky. So here's how I spent about 30 minutes of my life.
I want to die.
I have a question for God. Why?
We finally put him down, and the lava beneath recedes. And think, we put ourselves through all of that just to look cool and get some free souls. So a pretty worthwhile side quest in my book. So we spend our souls and get ready to journey all the way back up to Firelink from down here. On our way back up though, we pull off a sick jump. And then we quickly grab another Firekeeper soul before getting done in by the little dogs. But we make it all the way up to reach another new area. You can check this place out if you want to beef with some drakes, but they're pretty difficult. It honestly acts as kind of like an interim area between a few different places. We open this gate to New Londo, which brings us back to Firelink with a new shortcut. Unfortunately, I'm a clown and forgot to call the elevator, so I fell right off. So that means I have to do the entire Blighttown run again. Ugh. Okay, I'm back and using the elevator properly now. And it turns out that nice man I let out of the cell in the church killed our Firekeeper, so we're gonna have to beat his ass for her soul a little bit later. All the way back at Undead Parish, we finally make our way to Sen's fortress, a really well thought out torture chamber of a level. You know Daddy Miyazaki at the time of his life with this one, because it's filled with swinging guillotines, arrow traps, and snake men, rolling boulders too. It's also home to our dear Onion Knight Sigmire. I love all the weird friendly people you find in the most horrible places in this game. We run up as fast as we can to the source of the boulders. We change the direction of the boulders so that they hit a wall at the bottom. We go through the smashed wall and we see some cages. In one of these cages is my man Big Hat Logan. I use the master key here, but the real key to unlock it is further on in the fortress. This guy sells some of the strongest sorceries in the game back at Firelink, so check out his stock if you're pumping intelligence. Anyway, back to climbing the torture chamber. I remember the first time I came here, I was stuck here for ages. But after playing through the game so many times, I feel so much more comfortable here, so we managed to get all the way to the top on our first try. We nearly lose our run to an arrow trap, but we get our shit together real fast. Eventually, we finally make our way outside. We also rest at a pretty well-hidden bonfire on a balcony. After crossing some more thin platforms, we finally make our way to the boss of the area. They call him the Iron Golem. Unfortunately, I completely forgot about the giant throwing exploding boulders, so I get destroyed. But in this video, we always learn from our mistakes. So we delete the guy throwing boulders at us. And after that, the boss is pretty simple. You can also break this guy's ankles at the edge and have him fall off, but I couldn't get it. And then there's this weird ring on the ground that we interact with. This was probably the biggest holy shit moment for me when I first played this game when I was 13. Anne Orlando makes you feel so small compared to everything else with its massive scale. It does such a good job at making you realize how prosperous the world was in its glory age, but now it's just a deserted kingdom with barely anybody here. We do meet another firekeeper here though. So after getting comfortable, we start beefing with these giant soldiers to clear the area. While we're looting, we come across something that I forgot to mention in Sen's Fortress. The famous Dark Souls mimics. These gross fake chests can be spotted by looking at their chain. A normal chest will have its chain curve, while the mimics will be straight. I like to think of the curve as a smiley face. It helps me remember that it's safe to open. Since we use our 200 IQ to spot it, we get the first hit after missing a kick, and we take it out before it can even attack us. Making our way down this elevator in the center, and this next part is really gonna suck if you don't like heights. The enemies in here are like white ninjas, and they have a small chance to drop their sword, which is one of the fastest dex weapons in the game. But our heart is already set on the Great Scythe, so it's time to cross these thin beams on the ceiling. The end is in sight as we're at the very end of the beams, but I didn't wait long enough for the last guy's body to ragdoll, so I fall right off the map because I got scared. Attempt 2 goes much better though, and we make it to the lever. So now we can access more of Anne Orlando and also get a shortcut back. Not before we kill the gargoyle's brother though, since we discriminate against all gargoyles. We start going up these stairs and just know that we're in some place important. Things like this is how the game conveys messages to you without you even paying attention to the story. Now, if you have already played this game before, you already know what I need to hype myself up for. Ooh, always a nice surprise when I can do it first try. And we have a fitting reward waiting for us in the next room. They definitely put him there after that stressful run on purpose just to calm us down. Moving on, we roll into a fireplace like you normally do and find a secret wall. Down here in the dark basement, we find some treasure that does not pass our smile test. So we beat the shit out of it. The rest of the treasure does pass the smile test though. And we finally find Havel's gear. This armor is the heaviest in the game, but also the strongest, bar none. Aside from a DLC set that does come close. But we already have appropriate clothes for our build, so I'm going to pass. We continue on fighting some more mimics, and keep making our way up the stairs. Now you're supposed to keep on going up, but you could also save yourself some time if you're good at parkour like I am. So we make this jump off the stairs. Nice. I love how many cool tricks like that are in this game and how FromSoft will never patch them out. Then all of a sudden we're in a gigantic hall and head down the stairs on the other side and find a friendly giant. He's happy to upgrade our weapons for us and can use boss souls to create boss weapons. There's a bunch of fun boss weapons, but Quaelag's fire sword is probably my favorite. We YOLO run to another lever in the hall to open up the front gates. This will make an even simpler shortcut from the bonfire. And trust me, you're gonna need it for what's ahead. Ornstein and Smo are probably the biggest roadblock you'll hit in this game, especially if it's your first time playing. You can in fact judge these guys off of their appearance because Smo is very big and slow and Ornstein is smaller and fast. And being able to separate them while they both close in on you throughout the entire fight is the key to the first phase. We get so close to picking off Ornstein, but we get too greedy. Also mentally prepare yourself for a long run back, but it's pretty safe. Next attempt we do take out Ornstein. But then Smo smashes him with his hammer and absorbs him? I don't really know how that works, but whichever one you kill is absorbed by the other. I find Super Smo easier, but you get Ornstein's cool armor if you kill Smo first, which is way better than getting Smo's armor with custom man boobs. But Super Smo isn't a walk in the park either, and we easily get put down. Okay, try number 3. We use the same strategy, but blow most of our Estus before the second phase even gets here. So that means it's time to lock in. We very carefully bait out attacks that give us some time to get some hits in. And after enough times, we finally take them down. Whew, that's a weight off of our shoulders. Up ahead, we see a very predictable message. And enter the room to meet Gwyn's daughter, Guinevere. She gives us the Lord Vessel, which allows us to finally fast travel. Before we get out of here, we have some unfinished business with that guy that killed our Firekeeper. We use the item that she had on her body to invade his world as a phantom. He has 2 friends with him, so I tried to lure them upstairs. I did this so I could fight them one at a time. And eventually, revenge is ours. Alright, so we head back to Firelink to give Best Girl her tongue back.
I wish not to speak.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyway, side quest time again. It's time to face all that emotional damage behind that one door in the woods. Deeper in, we find a chill cat monster that offers us to join her covenant. Joining makes everyone in the forest all mellowed out, so I'm gonna go ahead and take her up on her offer. We also bond with all the mushroom children in the woods. Ah, another fitting message. We enter the arena and start to approach a big-ass sword near a big grave. Yeah, so this fight is the worst. Vati Vidya did a Prepare to Cry on this, so I'd encourage you to watch that to get the whole context of this fight. But long story short, this big grave is actually his master's. And the only reason he's really even fighting you is because he doesn't want you to go to the abyss and lose yourself like his master did. But sadly, we need to go there, so our only option is to put down the loyal good boy. And if that wasn't sad enough, they also made it so he limps when he's at low health. Really evil shit. But we finish the unthinkable and take the ring and leave in shame. Back at Firelink, we run into a friend who will probably scare the shit out of you when you first see him. He's actually a lot nicer than he looks, and he's one of Gwyn's buddies. He encourages you to link yourself to the fire in the same way Gwyn did to prolong the age of fire. He's also nice enough to carry you in his mouth to the depths of the world. And now that we're here, this is where you would normally place the Lord Vessel and start the second part of the game. However, I'm going to work with his brother Koth, and I'm going to join his covenant too. But in order to do that, you need to obtain the Lord Soul in New Londo before even placing the Lord Vessel down. So we homeward bone back to Firelink to take on New Londo. The scenery here is so cool. It really feels like some kind of underworld. And fitting with that theme, the area is covered in ghosts that you can't even damage without being cursed. But a nice workaround is the transient curse item. This temporarily will let you hit the ghosts. and you can buy some of those from the nice moss lady near Undead Berg. So glad we made so many friends. So we keep picking off these ghosts, but get jumped by the elevator. Didn't know ghosts could use wall hacks. After making our way to the roof, we find another person who spends their time in an awful place for all eternity. Luckily though, he has a key we need, so thanks. And good luck, I guess. With nice robe guy's keys, we managed to drain the lower section of New Londo of all this water. And down here is actually a lot worse than the ghosts. It's nothing but dark wraiths and more horrors beyond your comprehension. The dark wraiths can also drop titanite slabs, so this is one of the only Souls games where you can theoretically grind all of your weapons to max level. But we don't have time for that, so we're gonna keep going. We finish clearing out the whole area and then we enter the boss door. And after stepping in, we look at our souls and quickly see that we have 37,000. And I do not have the confidence to go in with that, so we're gonna bone out and come back. And now for some reason I can't explain, I got distracted here and decided to go back to the catacombs to kill the boss there before returning to New Londo. I don't really know what I was thinking at the time, but that's kind of the beauty of this game. You can do whatever you want in whatever order. So I got ready and I did my favorite jump in the game again.
Another one.
After getting our jump interrupted by the skeletons one too many times, we finally stopped being stubborn and decided to pick them off. And thankfully the summoner goon dropped us a skull lantern. This bad boy only has a 2% chance to drop from them, so I'm super lucky. You can get one later, but it makes the beginning of my least favorite area a lot less stressful. And this time we run right by the skeleton wheels instead of sacrificing ourselves and make our way to the hardest boss in the game. Yeah, not really, he's probably the easiest. Obviously I'm decently far in the game and doing a lot of damage, but you can definitely kill this guy before the Taurus demon, he's really not all that. He also gives us that right of kindling so we can get our bonfires to 20 Estus, so that's nice. Past all that, we climb out of the tomb and get a good view of my least favorite level in the game, the Tomb of the Giants. This place is pitch black the entire time. And if that wasn't bad enough by itself, it's also filled with skeletal creatures and archers to make your life even harder, and plenty of opportunities to accidentally walk off the cliff. Thankfully, I haven't rested at a bonfire since Firelink, so I just go around exploring and expect to die at some point. And it really did not take long. So we finally get our 20 Estus. Man, I miss when they let you have like 20 of these. Okay, now that we're done with that side quest, we go back to New Londo and get ready to fight the boss for real. We throw on our Abyss Ring and we get ready to fight the 4 Kings. This boss is like a DPS check, so doing it first like we are can be a little risky, but our scythe is definitely enough for us. So we dive into the Abyss. Yep, no cutscene or anything, just things appearing in the pitch black. And as time goes on, more of these kings will show up, so we sprint at them as soon as they appear. The longer you let this fight drag on, the more likely it is that more of them are going to show up, so you want to be fast. These kings were given a part of Gwyn's Lord Soul out of respect for their abilities, so that's why they weren't mentioned in the opening cutscene like the other lords. Our offense pays off though, we managed to finish them off first try, thank God, because the run back here sucks. And if you killed the 4 kings like I did before putting the Lord Vessel down, you'll get another scary friend that shows up with the bonfire. This is Koth, who's another primordial serpent, except he doesn't have any allegiance to Gwyn like his brother. He tells you all about the Dark Soul and how rather than prolonging the Age of Fire, we should usher in a new Age of Dark. Sounds cool, so we're gonna do that instead of keeping the fire on life support forever. He's also nice enough to offer us mouth transportation. Cool. Except this time we come from deep below since we came from the Abyss, which is kind of a cool detail, I think. After finally placing the Lord vessel down, we see that we still need 3 more Lord souls in order to open up the door to Gwyn. So with that, our next objective is fully in motion, kill the other Lords. We already took one out just so that we could join the Dark Wraith Covenant. And speaking of that, let's head back to the Abyss and join for real. This is definitely more of a PvP covenant, but honestly, I just want the cool edgelord fit. I think it would go really nice with our scythe. So we fork over 30 humanities. And our outfit is finally finished, and I'm sorry, that's so cool. That's enough fun though, so we head back to the Tomb of the Giants to clear the area for real this time. But yeah, for me personally, this is my least favorite area in the game, just because of how stressed I am the entire time. And the bonfires are so hidden. And you probably won't have the lantern by now either, unless you got lucky like I did. So it's much harder to navigate. We actually bump into a fake wall by complete accident, so I go and check it out. I realize where I am though, and I decide to go back to trigger the cutscene properly. One of the requirements of playing a Souls game is always to fall for Patch's tricks. I know I kept stressing player choice earlier, but this is the one thing you don't have a choice. I don't care what anyone says, those are the rules. Everybody needs to fall for Patch's murder attempts. So we go look over the edge just like the nice guy asks us to. Yup, still a dick. We go back up and I realized I should have answered no to him asking if we're a cleric or not. Because we said yes, he's not really willing to talk it out, so don't really have a choice. He brought it on himself, so, sorry, not sorry. After fighting some monsters in the dark, we eventually notice a black knight charging at us as if this other shit wasn't enough to deal with. What an asshole. Then we find the second super hidden bonfire nearby. And it's a good thing we did, because 5 seconds later we get pushed right off the cliff. After aimlessly wandering for a little bit, we see the beautiful light, and we are finally free of that hell. There's still a ways before the boss, but as long as I can see, I'm totally fine with it. The path ahead is pretty much just filled with more skeletons, and a bunch of other pinwheels, weirdly enough. And lastly, the most adorable skeletons you'll ever see. Don't let them gang up on you, though. Anyways, boss door finally, so let's hurry and get out of this place. Unsurprisingly, Nito is the one resting here. He summons tons of skeletons to help him in this fight, and the only advice I really have to offer is to stay aggressive, and take advantage of his AoE attack since it also kills the skeletons around him for a while. And after enough hits and like 16 flasks, we managed to pull it off, and get our second Lord Soul. Remembering the opening cutscene, that means we only have Seath the Dragon and the Witch of Izalith left. But I'm starting to feel a little bit bored of the main path, so I decided to split off and do some optional content for a while. First thing on the agenda is to return to Darkroot Basin to take care of a threat that we completely ignored earlier. It's not these crystals, but the thing shooting water at us. The Hydra. This bad boy is actually really simple to fight, but the water makes it completely terrifying. You can either get close and bait his bite attacks to cut his heads off one by one, or you can also firebomb him from the distance if you have the patience. On our way to cut off his final head, you see how easy it is just to walk into the water like a complete idiot. So we make our run back, and this time we're more patient, so we manage to take it out. This doesn't do anything to really help us right now, but it'll help us with entering the DLC later. Now, back at Firelink, I'm starting to feel a little homesick, so I'm gonna go ahead and visit the Undead Asylum again. After parkouring on the roof for a while, we eventually find the key. And there's only one way a hero of our caliber travels huge distances. I love this game. We make our way back to the cell where we started the game in and see a Black Knight who's now waiting for us. Too bad we got good, so these things aren't really a threat to us anymore. In here we find a doll which lets us enter yet another secret area. Secret areas on secret areas in this game, seriously. Next we head back into where we fought the asylum demon before our fat ass breaks the floor. We find his cranky twin hiding down here. He's not really all that different from the asylum demon, except he has an explosive attack and does more damage. So we decide to do the humane thing and put him out of his misery rather than just leaving him to wander in the sewers forever. And with that, we just have one more little thing I want to do before we get back on the main path. I run back to New Londo to grab a Firekeeper soul that I totally forgot about. You can actually get this in the very beginning of the game if you feel like making a suicide run for it, but I didn't think it was really worth it. So with everything on our to-do list done for now, let's go back to Anne Orlando and take care of that big scaleless dragon. At the end of the long hallway, we see our nemesis again, the armored boar. Thankfully, we get him stuck sideways and take him out pretty easily. Problem solved. Just kidding, there's one more. And after an elevator ride, we get a glimpse of our actual nemesis in the distance. We run to him to try and finish him off before he can teleport, but watch our health bar get completely decimated. So far there hasn't been a single time I've been able to kill these dancers without dying at least once. This time we do the same exact thing and it works, so no need to learn from any mistakes here. It fails the smile test. Another moment to just take in the sights. I can't show every beautiful view in this game in one video, but if you do play this yourself, really try and just take some moments to appreciate how much effort went into building this world. Anyway, back inside, we find another elevator. I throw on a ring of sacrifice because I've played this game before and I know what's ahead of me. After entering the door, we come face to face with the scaleless loser himself. Unfortunately for us, all the research he did here did allow him to achieve immortality without any scales. So we literally cannot beat him and accept our death with grace. Too bad he wasn't that impressed and threw our ass in jail. We punish the Snake Man for relaxing on the job and use his key to get out of here. Okay, so here's the situation. That weird, unsettling music riles up those tentacle creatures to attack you, so your goal is to go down and turn it off, because we see the way out is locked. So nothing left but to fight them off all the way to the bottom. At the bottom, we find the key to get out in the chest. And then we finally turn that awful music off. And now that it's quiet, we see that the monsters are at ease and ready to be killed. And somehow our buddy Logan got locked up here too. The key to let him out is further in. If you free him here, he'll sell you the endgame sorceries, and there's also a Firekeeper soul in there. So definitely worth coming back to, but unfortunately I forgot until he was already gone. So we used that key we just found and finally escaped the prison portion of the Duke's archives. And we're greeted by another dancing fatty. Oh, we finally killed one first try! So the Duke's archives involves a lot of turning staircases and accessing all the different floors for different loot. But we make our way all the way to the bottom on the other side to reach a bonfire. And this is actually the closest one to the Seath fight, and he's very far away. So just a heads up, we have one of the worst runbacks to look forward to if we blow it. Making our way outside, we find a bunch more of those crystal things, and then stumble across the Crystal Cave. This area is both beautiful and scary. The beauty is pretty self-explanatory, but if you look closely, you'll see that the crystal shards hitting the floor, even though there's no actual floor. So that's right, secret floors. Thankfully, the Souls community is amazing as ever, so there's a bunch of messages on the floor to help guide us. We fight a shiny version of that crystal enemy, and also say hello to a moonlight butterfly. After crossing the final invisible bridge, we're greeted by these gross clam monsters with spear tongues. Cool! In the distance, we see a bright light that looks an awful lot like the source of a dragon's immortality. Our hunch is right as Seath shows right up. Too bad we break his stupid crystal and get to work on him. Seath has a tail cut weapon, and not just any weapon, but the series' famous Moonlight Greatsword. So definitely worth going for. Like a lot of huge bosses in this game, we just kind of stick to his side and finish him off. And we managed to do it first try, thankfully. Way to waste your life trying to be immortal, dumbass. Anyways, thanks for the Lord Soul. Next, we take a quick stop at Anne Orlando to kill the resident Firekeeper for her soul. Sorry, we need stronger Estus for what's ahead. And yes, they really make you do this to Firekeepers in order to strengthen your flask in this game. Back at Firelink, Framp decides to give us the silent treatment because we like his brother more than him. We also take another quick stop back at the catacombs to grab a ring that lets us fight an optional boss in Anne Orlando. After getting the ring, we go back to Anne Orlando and go to the very bottom of that central platform. And if you notice, as soon as we equip this ring, the wall completely disappears. This person talking to us is Gwyn's son, Gwyndolin. He's trying to convince us to kneel and join his covenant. Fun fact, he was raised as a girl because he possessed traits of the moon, which were seen as feminine. To be honest, I don't really understand it, but we don't care about his backstory since our hands are rated E for everyone. So we go inside. Now this fight is weird. He uses his magic to make the hallway seem infinite and tries to attack you from a distance. So the fight is essentially you running to him and getting in as many hits as you can before he teleports further back. And he can output a lot of damage, so timing your rolls is critical. You can also use a shield as the last line of defense. And after enough hits, we finally finish the fight. This was totally optional, but like I said, I like to kill all the bosses on my runs. Now, if you're keeping count, our last Lord Soul is the Witch of Izalith. But as I also mentioned earlier in this video, that's the worst boss in the game, and maybe even the series. So I'd rather do any other optional things we can do now, and just keep procrastinating doing that fight. And since we found that doll all the way back at the Undead Asylum, we head all the way back to that room with all the white ninjas and the gigantic painting on the wall. This cutscene is always so funny, like bro, just back up. But this place is really cool. It has a lot of harpies and also some exploding poison abominations because Dark Souls. And the enemies here can be pretty tough, so make sure you're prepared if you come here earlier than I did. We also spot the rare Demon Souls reference. And just like Demon Souls, fire works really well here. But I don't have any, so I hit them and run away until they're all dead like a true warrior. We find some big ass thing blocking the bridge. And yup, it's a dragon. Thankfully this thing is pretty easy to fight, it just has a ton of health. And after finally getting him out of our way, we keep going down the bridge. Until we find another one! Luckily if you jump attack the dragon, it glitches out and stands up so you can just run under his legs. I've played this game so many times and I actually don't know what the right way to get under the bridge is. I've always just used this funny little glitch. I love that FromSoft has never patched this out after all these years. But now comes the boss of the area. And it's really different from any other boss in the series. This is actually the daughter of Seath and a human woman. Don't ask, I don't know. But she lives here, and she genuinely doesn't want any trouble and actually offers you a way to leave peacefully. She's actually really sweet, which makes the next part even more painful. Like I said, fighting every boss is a part of my soul run, so we steal our hearts and we start throwing hands. She likes to turn invisible, and the secret here is to look at the snow to see her footprints. She has a dagger you can get if you manage to cut off her tiny tail, but it's really hard, especially because she doesn't have that much health. And now there is no doubt that we are in fact the bad guy. We can't live with the guilt, so we take the plunge. Turns out that's the way out though. I'm glad Priscilla told us that before we killed her in cold blood. And to continue our seemingly endless procrastination, let's go all the way back to Blighttown and check out that secret area we passed earlier. The Great Hollow plays similar to Miquella's Haligtree if you've played Elden Ring, except instead of giant ants and bubble blowers, it's basilisks and mushroom people. So you want to just carefully try and work your way down the branches, and nope. Wow, he really just cursed me after I was already dead. More of a reason to always carry purging stones, because that was some bullshit. We start beefing with the mushroom people. And listen to the noise the little ones make. Isn't that weird? What is that? Sounds like a wolf in pain or something. Now just look at this place. And remember, this beautiful area is hidden behind the Great Hollow and 2 hidden walls in Blighttown. Super easy to miss, which makes finding it feel so surreal. But there is a second Hydra here that's kind of killing the vibe, so let's go ahead and take care of that. Okay, back to the glazing. Every time I come here, I'm blown away that this impossibly huge place is deep under Blighttown. And it goes on seemingly forever. It looks a lot like the world before fire, so I wonder if this is kind of like the last vestige of that age. And the reason it's so well hidden is so that Gwen didn't find it. This theory is backed up by the one dude who's actually chilling in here. It's one of the everlasting dragons. He allows us to join the Covenant if we want to. And we could get a strong weapon from cutting his tail off, but we don't need it. There's no boss in this area, so after we loot the items and stockpile enough dopamine from the scenery, we continue on. Okay, I'm done procrastinating. Let's go get this last Lord Soul out of the way. Back in Hell, we see that our old friends are actually waiting for us. This place is filled with Taurus and Capra demons, so we initiate our bonfire run protocol. Too bad I forget there's also a giant centipede blocking the bonfire. Thankfully they're grossed out too and back off. Oh, never mind, we got a wise guy. The centipede doesn't even come close to killing us. So we kill it and finally get a good moment of peace. We also run into my favorite enemy in here. They're like demons attached to meatballs, and they like to breathe fire at you, and they're just kind of hilarious, I don't know. Going into our first fog gate, we see another reskin of our asylum friends. He plays out the same exact way, just extra explosive. Easy peasy. We don't get too long of a break though, as our next boss is literally right up ahead. This guy is pretty scary the first time you fight him because the arena is like 90% lava and it does insane damage to you if you run on it. And the trick with this fight is to cut off one of his heads to separate it and then kill it. This will give you a lava resistance ring, and this makes the fight way less stressful. Don't get grabbed though, that one's on me. So we throw the ring on and we take him out pretty easily. And fun fact, if you join the Chaos Servant Covenant from Quaelag's sister, you could have skipped everything up to this point. But since we didn't, we continue on and enter Lost Izalith and run into a friend. He's feeling really dejected about not finding his son, so we hope it's not a bad omen and move on. Now that we're practically immune to the lava, we make our way forward, while avoiding all these weird gigantic dinosaurs. We stop at another hidden bonfire, and it's one I'm all too familiar with because of just how mean the boss up ahead is. The rest of the way forward is pretty much just more meatballs and running, and an octopus toilet monster. Don't let it grab you, trust me. Then we have one last annoying daughter of the witch to take care of outside the door. Now it's finally time to face the boss. I know I keep hyping up this boss like it's a Prime Radon fight or something, but it's really just obnoxious. I've only ever managed to beat it without dying once in my entire life. And here she is, the Bed of Chaos. So the goal of this fight is to break the branches on the left and right. And then after, you want to make a jump to the center to beat the boss for real. The first one really isn't that bad, but as you see on our way to the second one on the other side of the arena, the floor starts to break up. I actually get really close to taking both out, but she yeets me right off the cliff. Can't say I didn't see it coming though. Long run back time! It does save your progress though, so it's more of an endurance fight, honestly. And I'm going to let this next attempt play out just so you can see how stupid this fight is. So yup, after getting pushed off the ledge, we have to make our way all the way back just to try again. I know this video is supposed to convince you to play this game, but if there is one reason not to play it, it's the Bed of Chaos. We pull off getting to the second branch this time, and now it's just about getting to the middle, which is usually the hardest part. And by some miracle or divine intervention, we managed to jump to the middle in the same life. I'm still kind of in shock, but I'm gonna keep going to finish the job. We kill this stupid bug at the heart of all this and grab our last Lord Soul. And with that, we are free to challenge Gwen and officially finish the game. Too bad we still have DLC to finish, baby. So, it's back to Darkroot Basin. And thankfully we took that detour earlier to finish off the Hydra to make our lives easier. We carefully hugged the left wall by the water to come across another one of those shiny Pokemon crystal guys. Except this one had a lady in it. She asks us if she can pass the knowledge of Ulasil on to us, and we say sure. And then she vanishes. Cool. Anyway, now we head to the Duke's Archives. And if it wasn't obvious by now, this is the start of the series staple of having the most obscure entrances to the DLC anybody could come up with. In the very beginning of the Archives, there's another crystal enemy that's just standing there. Nothing out of the ordinary. But now that we saved that woman, this inconspicuous crystal will drop us a very important pendant that we need. I honestly have no idea how anyone figured this out on their own. Anyways, that's all the obscure steps we need to do for the DLC, so we head back to the basin where the princess was, and we see a portal there now. After getting yoinked inside, we immediately face another boss. The Sanctuary Guardian is actually pretty tough, especially if you don't save the DLC for last like I did. It's a chimera that uses poison and will attack noticeably faster than most of the base bosses, so he can definitely catch you off guard. He's a really good entry boss for the DLC to kind of give you an idea of what you're up against. The DLC usually contains the hardest bosses in the game, and this one is no different, but if you've made it this far, you could definitely handle the bosses. Like this Sanctuary Guardian who's apparently really bad at his job. After him, we finally meet a mushroom that we can talk to! Holy shit, I love her! She asks us to save that princess again, except this time she was taken by the Father of the Abyss, who is the final big baddie of the DLC. And he's just as intimidating as his name would lead you to believe. We then enter our first open area of the DLC, the Royal Wood. And damn, this place is massive, seriously. And plenty of drops for idiots to walk right into like me. I also got forked to death in a corner. We finally find an elevator in here that brings us to our next fog door. And not just any fog door, but the coolest boss in the game's fog door. Check it out. This badass is Artorias, and his story is that he tried to stop the spreading of the Abyss to protect the world like a true hero, but sadly he was corrupted by it himself. So this fight is sort of like a mercy kill for an honorable knight who gave his life for the good of mankind. He's also Sif's master, so that grave that you saw Sif protecting is actually his, and the only reason he fought you was so that you wouldn't end up like Artorias here. Honestly, so depressing. But back to the present. Artorias can definitely put up a good fight. He's a big fan of jump attacks, so I'd wait until it's safe and then get your hits in. Eventually he goes down and his soul can finally be at peace. Honestly feels good to do something nice in this game after all the evil shit we've done so far. And now we enter Ulasil Township. This place is pretty tricky. Lots of dark mages just waiting for you to get distracted by the melee enemies. A lot of thoughtful enemy placement here. If you're a mage, definitely thoroughly explore this place, as almost all of the dark magic is found here. At the top of a tower, we see another chest that fails the smile test, so you know what we have to do. We keep fighting our way through the town up until we're overwhelmed and try to pull out. Unfortunately, the mage is way ahead of us and gets us from the back. Classic. After coming back, the dark mage just kind of hops down and nearly catches us off guard. Some of the enemies in this game, it's just like, what is your problem? Big time shortcut though, so now we can die with no regrets. We also do some quick parkour to get a key that allows us to meet our last friend of the run. I know, so sad, we're almost done. So we head back to the Colosseum where we fought Artorias and head upstairs. We use the key and find a friendly giant just hanging out like everyone else in this game. He thanks us for helping his friend Artorias finally rest in peace. We say goodbye, but we'll be back soon. Onward, we reach our next bonfire and are soon met with complete darkness. Yay, more Tomb of the Giants. Just kidding, this place is actually a lot more chill. The Chasm of the Abyss still has enemies in here that will beat the shit out of you. But it's mostly chill with just a lot of creepy ambiance. Coming across another hidden wall, we see a dog being harassed by these giant humanities. So obviously we step in and protect the cute little guy. And it turns out this is actually Sif before he was all big. And Artorias put this barrier around him to protect him from the Abyss. Aww. You can actually summon him for the last fight, and if you do the DLC before fighting him in the game, there's a secret cutscene where he recognizes you, and the fight is twice as sad. really can make a grown man cry. But we finally reached the boss door, and we're ready to fight arguably the toughest boss in the game. This is Manus, father of the Abyss. He was once a human, but his humanity went out of control, and now this is all that's left. He's very aggressive, so it can be pretty hard to find time to get your hits in. A great shield would work wonders here if you have the stamina to support it. But since we two-hand the scythe, we are rollers in this house. And after a tense fight, we finally put an end to Manus and rescue the princess. She keeps crying though, so we just take off without her. And while we did just beat the final boss of the DLC, there is another one just waiting for us. We pay a visit to the ravine near Artorias that we ignored before, and we get a good look at our last challenger before Gwyn, Calamite. We head down to fight the dragon, and get absolutely shit on with his breath attack before he even lands. Don't worry though, this is all going according to plan, I promise. Now that we triggered the fight and realized that we can't beat him as long as he's flying in the air, we employ some help from our great giant friend. He takes a quick shot at G Fuel and hits the shot of his life. Seriously, how the hell did he hit that? But now that his wing is injured, we can finally fight him on the ground. Even without his wing though, he's really dangerous. You can also get a really great weapon if you cut his tail off, but good luck, because this is probably the hardest tail cut in the game. It's got a lot of health and it's really difficult to hit. We stay out of range of his breath attacks and attack whenever we can. And finally finish him off. And now with Calamite dead, we have officially defeated all of the bosses in the game except for Gwyn himself. But there's still one more NPC quest I'm pretty invested in, Solaire. If you remember the last time we saw Solaire, he was really dejected in the beginning of Lost Izalith about not being able to find his son. So we return to Hell and look around for a while. Eventually we take another path right before the boss door to the Bed of Chaos. And it's just across this bridge with the Titanite demon in the way. And holy shit, let me tell you, this is probably the most annoyed I was the entire playthrough. Quick reminder, I managed to beat Manus and Artorias on my first try, and I got my shit caved in by a Titanite demon over and over and over. Goes to show that you never know when your lack of skills will kick in all of a sudden. Anyways, back to what's important, Solaire. Further in, we find our dear friend surrounded by sunlight maggots. Unfortunately, his search for the sun led him to be taken over by these creatures, and he's lost his mind like many of the hollows we've seen so far.
I have found it. I have. My very own son. I am the sun. Oh, it's over. My son. It's setting. It's dark. So dark.
Oh my god, why would they make those his last words? The only way that it is possible to save him is if you take that shortcut I mentioned earlier with the Chaos Servant Covenant. You can actually enter this way through the back and kill the maggots before Solaire gets here. But as a Dark Wraith, the only cure we could offer our dear friend is death. And now, for realsies, we are ready to confront Gwyn and decide the fate of this world. We return to our serpent friend Koth in the Abyss and have him bring us back to the Lord Vessel. We finally fill it with all the Lord Souls that we've gathered so far, and it opens the door to the kiln of the First Flame. The entrance here is really surreal, with phantoms of Gwyn's knights fading in and out, likely just remnants of the past. And we get a gorgeous view of the kiln itself. This area is mostly barren aside from the Black Knights, which are actually the only ones that respawn in the game. So if you wanted any of the Black Knight weapons, you can freely farm them right here. We continue on crossing piles of ashes and carefully crossing broken ruins up until we reach a very final looking staircase, and eventually a fog door at the bottom. Now, after defeating Gwyn, it will automatically start New Game Plus, so at this point, be sure to finish anything you left unresolved. I don't have any regrets though, so I'm ready to enter the final fog door of the game. After being built up as the strongest lord in all of Lordran who vanquished all of the everlasting dragons, all that is left of Gwyn is a husk. The fight itself isn't all that challenging, and this is by design, showing you how weak he is after clinging to the past for so long. And of course, the music, which somehow manages to convey all these feelings to you even if you weren't paying attention. It isn't some epic score like all the other bosses, but a somber theme, showing what a depressing existence Gwyn has been living in here. And at last, we finally defeat him and put him to rest. And with Gwyn gone, we are left with a choice. Take his role in kindling the flame to continue life as is, or turn our back on the fire and let it extinguish to usher in a new age of dark. I've already decided that I will not resist the course of nature and allow the age of dark to come to pass. So we turn around and exit. As we leave, we see primordial serpents, including Frompt, who now respects us as the new lord. And we take our first steps forward to embrace the scary but natural change of the world.
We are here to serve your highness. Let the true dark be cast upon the world.
And that is Dark Souls. Anyways, if you made it to the end, thank you so much. I am still replaying this game 13 years later, and I really wanted to reach somebody who might not have played it for themselves or maybe hasn't gone back in years, because this game really strikes a chord with me. But my playthrough was completely unique to me, and there are tons of things I skipped over because it wasn't important for my run. But if you're a new player, you'll spend so much time exploring places that I just glossed over during the video. So once again, I really encourage anyone watching to give this game a shot themselves. It's not an experience that a video can just replicate. And if you're somehow still watching this far and you like the video, please like and subscribe. I have a whopping 0 subscribers, and this is my first video. When I started it, I felt like it was just kind of a one-off passion project for Dark Souls, but as I kept working, I really started to enjoy myself, and I really want to continue to keep making content, honestly. So if there was any part of the video you thought was boring or cringe or any criticisms, please let me know in the comments. I promise you will not hurt my feelings. I genuinely want to improve. My next video is probably going to be about what I think the game of the year is, and hopefully I'll get it out before that goober Jeff Keighley has his game awards. But seriously, thank you so much again for watching, and I hope that you'll check out my next video. See ya!